The stars around Proxima Colony burned bright against the black space. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation window of mining station Delta 7. She had seen many beautiful things in her 30 years working the asteroid fields, but tonight something felt different. The stars seemed to shimmer in patterns that hurt her eyes to follow. "Sarah, you need to see this." Mike's voice crackled through the comm system. He sounded worried. She floated down the corridor to the control room. Mike sat hunched over his sensor array, his face pale in the blue light of the screens. "Look at this reading," he said, pointing at a display covered in red warning symbols. Sarah studied the data. "That can't be right. These readings show ships, lots of them." 47 vessels, Mike said quietly. "Big ones. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Sarah felt a cold knot form in her stomach. In all her years working the outer colonies, she had never seen unknown ships this far from Earth. The mining stations were supposed to be safe. They were too far out, too small to matter to anyone. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell them we have unknown contacts approaching Proxima system." Before Mike could respond, the comm system came to life. A strange voice filled the control room. It spoke in perfect English, but the tone was wrong, too flat, too cold. "Attention, primitive beings of this system. You are now under the authority of the Zethkari hegemony. Prepare for inspection and integration into our empire. Resistance will result in immediate termination." Sarah and Mike stared at each other. Neither of them had ever heard of the Zethkari hegemony. "This is mining station Delta 7, Sarah responded, trying to keep her voice steady. "We are peaceful workers. We have no weapons and pose no threat to anyone." The alien voice laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Your compliance is noted but irrelevant. All species encountered by the hegemony must be evaluated for usefulness. Your primitive technology suggests limited value, but organic specimens may have research potential." The mining station shuddered. Through the windows, Sarah could see massive ships materializing out of empty space. They were huge, each one easily 10 times the size of the largest Earth vessels she had ever seen. Their hulls were black as night, covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when she looked at them. "How many people are on this station?" the alien voice demanded. 47, Sarah answered honestly. There was no point in lying. "Acceptable. You will be collected for evaluation. Do not attempt to flee. Your primitive vessels cannot escape." "Hegemony pursuit craft." Sarah looked at Mike. His hands were shaking as he worked at his console. "Are you sending that message to Earth?" she whispered. "Trying to," he whispered back. "But something is jamming our long-range communications. I can only reach the other mining stations in this system." The alien ships moved closer. Sarah could see smaller craft launching from the large vessels. They moved with impossible speed, darting between asteroids like fish swimming through water. "Sarah," Mike called urgently. "I'm getting responses from the other stations. They're all seeing the same thing. Alien ships demanding surrender." "What are they saying?" "Station Delta 12 says they're going to fight. Captain Morrison has mining charges and says he'll use them." Sarah felt sick. Mining charges were meant for breaking apart asteroids. They would do nothing against ships that size. The comm system crackled again. This time the voice was different. Human. "All mining stations in Proxima system, this is Captain Morrison aboard Delta 12. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. I am activating Protocol 7. Repeat, Protocol 7 is now active." Sarah had never heard of Protocol 7. She looked at Mike, who shrugged. Must be something new from Earth Command. The space around them suddenly filled with light. One of the alien ships near Delta 12 exploded in a brilliant flash. Then another. Sarah watched in amazement as the mining station's defensive systems came online. Weapons she had never seen before emerged from hidden compartments. The small mining station was fighting back against ships 100 times its size, and it was winning. "Impossible," the alien voice said over the comm. Sarah could hear anger in it now. "These readings are wrong. This cannot be a primitive species." More. Explosions lit up the darkness. The alien pursuit craft that had seemed so fast and deadly were being destroyed one by one. Sarah watched as beams of pure energy lanced out from the mining stations, cutting through the alien ships like they were made of paper. "Sarah!" Mike shouted. "Look at this!" She turned to see his sensor display showing something incredible. More ships were appearing in the system, but these were human ships, dozens of them appearing from nowhere as if they had been invisible. "This is Admiral Torres aboard UES Defiant," a calm voice said over the comm. "All hegemony forces, you are ordered to withdraw immediately from human space. This is your only warning." The alien voice responded with fury. "You dare threaten the hegemony? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your pathetic species will be crushed." "We are aware of your history," Admiral Torres replied calmly. "We have been watching you for some time. We know about the civilizations you have destroyed, the species you have enslaved. We know about your plans for humanity." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. How long had Earth known about these aliens? The space battle continued around them. The human ships moved like nothing Sarah had ever seen. They seemed to bend space around them, appearing and disappearing at will. Their weapons cut through the alien vessels with terrifying efficiency. "This is not possible," the alien commander said, and now Sarah could hear fear in the voice. "Your species was catalogued as primitive. You have barely left your homeworld." "Your intelligence was incorrect," Admiral Torres said. "Humanity has been preparing for this meeting for a very long time." One by one, the alien ships began to retreat. They moved away from the mining stations, away from the human fleet. But they did not jump to whatever form of faster-than-light travel had brought them here. "We withdraw from this system," the alien commander said. "But the hegemony does not forget. We will return with greater force. Your species will be destroyed." "No," Admiral Torres said quietly. "You will not return. You will go back to your masters and tell them exactly what happened. Here. You will tell them that humanity gave you a chance to leave peacefully. You will tell them that Earth's response today was just a warning." The alien ships disappeared into the darkness between the stars. The human fleet began to disperse, some ships following the aliens, others taking up positions around the mining stations. Sarah realized she had been holding her breath. She let it out slowly and looked at Mike. He was staring at his displays with wide eyes. "Sarah," he said quietly, "those human ships, according to my sensors, they were here the whole time. They were just invisible somehow." She nodded slowly. "How long do you think Earth has been preparing for something like this?" Before Mike could answer, Admiral Torres's voice came over the comm again. This time he was speaking directly to the mining stations. "Citizens of Proxima Colony, this is Admiral Torres. You have all performed admirably today. However, I must inform you that this encounter was only the beginning. The hegemony will return, and when they do, they will bring their full might against humanity." Sarah felt the cold knot in her stomach tighten. "All mining operations in the outer systems are hereby classified under Colonial Defense Act. You will receive new equipment and training within the next 72 hours. Prepare yourselves. The real war is about to begin." The comm went silent. Sarah looked out at the stars, wondering how many alien eyes were watching them even now, planning humanity's destruction. She had a feeling that the warning Earth had just sent would not be enough. High Executor Mordain stood in the center of the Grand Strategy Chamber on Nexus Prime. Around him, holographic displays showed the territories of the Zethkari hegemony. 10,000 star systems glowed in the darkness, each one representing countless worlds under hegemony control. Commander Vexthal knelt before him, his forearms pressed against the cold metal floor. The commander's report from the human encounter had been most disturbing. "Rise," Mordain commanded. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. "Tell the council what you witnessed in the human system." Vexthal stood slowly. His skin had turned a pale gray color, a sign of deep fear among his species. "High Executor, the humans are not what our scouts reported. They possess technology we do not understand. Their ships appeared from nothing. Their weapons cut through our hulls like they were made of gas." Around the chamber, the 12 species that made up the Hegemony Council shifted nervously. "They had all heard the initial reports, but hearing Vexthal speak of it directly made it more real. "How many ships did they have?" asked Counselor Renth, her tentacles writhing with concern. "Unknown," Vexthal replied. "Our sensors could not count them properly. They seem to appear and disappear at will. We estimate between 50 and 100 vessels, but that number could be wrong." Mordain activated a holographic display. It showed the battle in the human system, recreated from Vexthal's ship recordings. The Council watched in silence as human ships materialized out of empty space and destroyed hegemony vessels with ease. "Interesting," Mordain said calmly. "They have developed some form of cloaking technology. Impressive for such a young species." "High Executor," Vexthal said urgently. "With respect, I do not believe this was merely cloaking technology. Our deep scan sensors should have detected energy signatures, mass displacement, gravitational disturbances. We detected nothing. It was as if those ships existed in a different layer of reality." The Council members looked at each other with growing unease. In their 3,000 years of expansion, they had encountered many advanced technologies, but nothing that could completely hide from their sensors. Mordain waved his hand dismissively. "No matter how advanced their technology, they remain a single species on a handful of worlds. We have faced such challenges before." He gestured, and the display changed to show the hegemony's military forces. Millions of ships spread across thousands of systems. Entire fleets that could crack planets and reshape star systems. "The hegemony has conquered species more advanced than these humans," Mordain continued. "The ethereal collective had technology that could manipulate time itself. We defeated them through superior numbers and strategy. The crystal minds could think at the speed of light. We overwhelmed them with forces they could not process quickly enough. Counselor Zax, an ancient being whose species had been among the first to join the hegemony, spoke in his whispering voice. Those species fought to preserve their territories, their way of life. What do we know of human motivations?" Vexthal's skin turned even paler. "They did not fight to defend territory, Counselor. They fought to send a message. Their admiral said their response was just a warning. I believe they were telling the truth." "A warning?" Mordain laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "What could a primitive species possibly warn the hegemony about?" "High Executor," interrupted Chief Intelligence Analyst Korth, "we have completed our assessment of human space based on our deep reconnaissance data. The results are troubling." The display changed again. This time it showed human-controlled systems, but the image was different from their earlier intelligence. Instead of a few dozen primitive colonies, the scan revealed hundreds of installations, mining operations that looked more like military bases, and what appeared to be massive construction projects in the empty space between stars. "Our previous estimates were incorrect," Korth continued. "The humans have been very careful to hide their true level of development. They have been building infrastructure throughout their local region for at least 200 of their years." Mordain studied the display with growing interest. "Show me their fleet strength." "That is the problem, High Executor. We cannot get accurate readings. Their ships use some form of technology that makes them nearly invisible to our sensors. What we can detect suggests they have far more vessels than we initially believed." "How many more?" "Conservative estimates suggest at least 10,000 vessels, but given how well they have hidden their activities, the real number could be much higher." The council chamber fell silent. 10,000 ships was still insignificant compared to the hegemony's military might, but it was enough to be a serious threat if those ships possessed superior technology. Counselor Renth spoke again. "What of their ground forces? Their planetary defenses?" Korth manipulated the display. "Unknown. Every human world appears to be heavily fortified, but we cannot penetrate their defensive networks to get detailed scans. What we can see suggests they have turned their entire civilization into a military machine." Mordain walked closer to the holographic display. He studied the human territories with the eye of a military strategist who had conquered half the galaxy. Something about the positioning of their installations bothered him. "Their placement is too perfect," he muttered. Every colony, every station, every mining operation is positioned to provide maximum defensive coverage. This level of planning would take centuries to implement. Yes, High Executor, Korth agreed. It appears the humans have been preparing for a large-scale conflict for a very long time. The question is, preparing for what? Vexthal stepped forward. High Executor, I believe they have been preparing for us. Their admiral knew about our history, our conquests. He spoke as if he had been expecting our arrival. Mordain considered this. The hegemony had been expanding in this direction for 500 years. It was possible that the humans had detected their approach decades or even centuries ago, and had been preparing ever since. It matters not, he decided finally. Preparation without overwhelming force is meaningless. The humans may have advanced technology and good planning, but they lack the resources to challenge the hegemony. He activated his command interface. Throughout hegemony space, fleet commanders would receive their orders within minutes. I am authorizing a Category 5 assault, Mordain announced. The council members recoiled in shock. Category 5 was reserved for species that posed an existential threat to the hegemony itself. High Executor, Councillor Zax whispered. A Category 5 has not been authorized in over 800 years. Are you certain the humans represent such a threat? They destroyed our ships easily, Mordain replied. They knew of our coming and prepared for it. They possess technology we do not understand. And most importantly, they issued a warning to the hegemony. No species in our history has dared to threaten us. The display changed one final time, showing the massive fleets that would soon converge on human space, 50,000 warships, including planet crackers capable of destroying entire worlds. Reality shapers that could alter the laws of physics in localized space, and consciousness breakers that could drive entire populations insane. The humans wanted to send us a message, Mordain said coldly. Now we will send them one. When we are finished, every species in the galaxy will remember what happens to those who dare threaten the hegemony. Vexthal watched the display with growing dread. He remembered the human admiral's calm voice, the way their ships had moved like living things, the ease with which they had destroyed hegemony vessels. He wanted to speak, to warn the High Executor that perhaps they were making a terrible mistake. But he remained silent. In the hegemony, questioning the High Executor's decisions was not tolerated. The orders went out across hegemony space. The largest military force in their history began to move toward human territory. It would take them 6 months to reach the human systems, but when they arrived, they would bring enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. As the council dispersed to oversee the preparations, Vexthal remained behind. He stared at the holographic display showing the human territories, trying to shake the feeling that they were all making a fundamental error. The human admiral's words echoed in his memory. Earth's response was just a warning. If their warning had involved easily destroying hegemony ships with mysterious technology, what would their real response look like? For the first time in his long military career, Vexthal began to fear that the hegemony might have chosen the wrong enemy. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the cargo hauler Peaceful Trader as it drifted through the Kepler system. To any outside observer, her ship looked exactly like what its name suggested, a simple merchant vessel carrying supplies between the outer colonies. They had no idea that Elena had been trained at the Solar Military Academy, or that every member of her crew was a combat veteran with decades of experience. They certainly had no idea that the Peaceful Trader could transform into one of the most advanced warships in human space. Contact, reported her sensor operator Martinez. Large formation approaching from Galactic North. Configuration matches. Hegemony battle fleet. Elena nodded calmly. They had been expecting this for 6 months. How many ships? Still counting, Captain. At least 40,000 so far, with more arriving every minute. Through the bridge windows, Elena could see other merchant vessels and mining ships continuing their normal operations throughout the system. To an outside observer, the humans appeared completely unaware of the approaching threat. Signal from Admiral Chen on the Wellington, Martinez reported. All units are to maintain civilian postures until the fleet enters optimal engagement range. Elena smiled grimly. Admiral Chen was Sarah's daughter, the little girl who used to play in the mining station corridors 30 years ago. Now she commanded the Terran Defense Force's most advanced battle group. The hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Elena had seen intelligence reports about their ships, but witnessing them in person was different. They were massive, dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their formation stretched across millions of kilometers of space, broadcasting on all frequencies, Martinez said. Same message they sent to the mining colonies. Elena listened to the alien commander's demands for surrender. The voice was different from 6 months ago, but the arrogance was the same. The hegemony still believed they were dealing with a primitive species that had gotten lucky in one small engagement. "Captain," called her weapons officer, Thompson, "I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from those ships. Looks like they brought their heavy weapons this time." Elena studied the tactical display. The hegemony fleet included vessels she recognized from intelligence briefings, planet crackers that could shatter worlds, reality shapers that could alter the fundamental laws of physics, and consciousness breakers designed to drive entire populations insane. "They're really trying to make an impression," she muttered. The hegemony commander's voice filled the comm channels again. "Humans of this system, you have one of your time units to surrender unconditionally. After that, we will demonstrate the price of defying the hegemony." Admiral Chen's voice responded from the Wellington, still disguised as a civilian science vessel. "This is Dr. Chen aboard the research ship Wellington. We are peaceful scientists studying stellar phenomena. We have no military forces and pose no threat to anyone." Elena had to admire the Admiral's acting ability. She sounded exactly like a frightened civilian researcher. The alien commander laughed. "Your deception is pathetic. We know about your hidden warships, your secret weapons. The hegemony has come prepared to face your real military strength." "I assure you we have no military forces in this system," Admiral Chen replied. "We are requesting safe passage to evacuate our research teams and denied. You will surrender now or be destroyed." Elena watched her tactical display as the hegemony fleet moved into attack formation. They spread out across the system, positioning their largest ships to cover all possible escape routes. It was an impressive display of military precision. It was also exactly what the humans had been hoping for. "Signal from the Admiral," Martinez reported. "Execute Phoenix Protocol on my mark." Elena's heart rate increased slightly. Phoenix Protocol was the culmination of 2 centuries of human military planning. Every ship, every station, every piece of seemingly civilian infrastructure in human space had been designed with this moment in mind. "Mark," Admiral Chen said quietly. Throughout the Kepler system, the transformation began. The peaceful traders. Cargo bay opened, but instead of trade goods, advanced fighter craft launched into space. Her hull sections separated and rearranged themselves, revealing weapon systems that dwarfed anything on the largest hegemony vessels. Within seconds, Elena's merchant ship had become a heavy battle cruiser. The same thing was happening everywhere. Mining ships unfolded into carriers. Research stations revealed themselves to be massive gun platforms. Asteroid mining operations turned out to be camouflaged shipyards that launched fully equipped battle fleets. But that was only the beginning. Throughout the system, space itself began to shimmer. Hidden installations that had been built into seemingly empty space decloaked, revealing the true scope of human preparations. Entire fleets of ships materialized, having been hidden by technology that made them invisible not just to sensors, but to reality itself. Elena watched the hegemony commander's confidence evaporate as his tactical displays tried to process what they were seeing. According to their sensors, the human fleet was now larger than the hegemony force. But the readings kept changing as more ships appeared from nowhere. "This is impossible," the alien commander transmitted. "These numbers. How long have you been building these fleets?" 237 years, Admiral Chen replied, dropping her civilian disguise entirely. "Ever since our deep space monitors detected your expansion in our direction. We have been preparing for this exact moment for longer than most of your species have been spacefaring." The tactical display showed the true scope of the human response. The Kepler system contained not just a few dozen civilian ships, but an entire battle fleet numbering in the thousands. And similar fleets were revealing themselves in every human system the hegemony had targeted. Elena studied the enemy formation. The hegemony ships were powerful, but they had been designed to overwhelm primitive opponents through superior numbers and firepower. They had not expected to face an enemy that had spent centuries analyzing their tactics and developing countermeasures. Beginning. Engagement, Admiral Chen announced. The battle started with a demonstration that changed everything the hegemony thought they knew about warfare. Human ships didn't just fire energy weapons or missiles. They used technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Space folded around hegemony vessels, crushing them into singularities. Reality shapers found their effects reversed and turned against their own fleets. Consciousness breakers discovered that human minds had been trained to resist their attacks. Elena's ship targeted a hegemony dreadnought that was 3 times her size. Her weapons didn't try to penetrate its armor. Instead, they reached through dimensions to strike directly at the ship's internal systems. The massive vessel simply stopped existing, its atoms scattered across several layers of reality. Throughout the system, the pattern repeated. The hegemony's superior numbers meant nothing when human ships could appear and disappear at will, striking from angles that shouldn't exist. Their advanced weapons were useless against defenses that had been specifically designed to counter them, but Elena knew the real shock was yet to come. "Captain," Martinez called urgently, "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the human ships. This isn't just local forces. Ships are arriving from other systems." Elena nodded. The hegemony had made a fundamental error in their planning. They had assumed that each human system would fight independently, that they could defeat them one at a time using overwhelming force. They had never considered that humanity had developed faster-than-light travel that made their own technology look primitive. Human ships could cross the galaxy in minutes, allowing them to mass their forces wherever they were needed. The hegemony fleet found itself facing not just the defenders of the Kepler system, but ships from throughout human space. The attacking force of 50,000 vessels suddenly faced a human fleet twice their size. Elena watched as hegemony ships began to break formation, their commanders finally realizing the true scope of their mistake. They had not come to conquer a primitive species. They had walked into a trap that had been centuries in the making. The alien commander's voice filled the comm channels one last time, but now it carried no arrogance, only terror. "Fall back, all units fall back. We cannot defeat them." But the humans weren't finished. As hegemony ships tried to retreat, they found their escape routes blocked by human vessels that seemed to appear from nothing. The hunters had become the hunted. Admiral Chen's voice carried across the battlefield with cold finality. "No. You came here to destroy us, to enslave our people, to wipe out our civilization. Now you will learn what humanity does to existential threats." Elena smiled as she watched her weapons tear through fleeing hegemony ships. This wasn't a battle anymore. This was an extermination. And it was exactly what the humans had been preparing for since the day they first detected the hegemony's approach. The real war had finally begun. High Executor Mordain stared at the tactical displays in growing horror. In the 3 days since the human counterattack began, the hegemony had lost over 60% of their invasion force. Entire battle groups were simply disappearing from the tactical maps. Their last transmissions cut off mid-sentence. "Status report," he commanded, his voice barely controlled. Chief Analyst Korth approached hesitantly. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by the shell-shocked expression of someone whose worldview had been completely shattered. "High Executor, we have lost contact with battle groups 7, 12, and 19. The last transmission from Group SO 7 indicated they were being pursued by human forces in the Vega system." "Pursued?" Mordain's voice rose dangerously. "Our forces are in retreat. How can they be pursued?" "The humans appear to have faster-than-light travel capabilities far beyond our own," Korth replied quietly. "They can reach any system in their space within minutes. Our retreating forces are being intercepted before they can reach safe jump points." Mordain activated the strategic display. What he saw defied everything he thought he knew about warfare. Human forces were not content to simply defend their territory. They were actively hunting down hegemony ships throughout a region spanning hundreds of light years. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Even if they have superior technology, they cannot have enough ships to cover such a vast area." "High Executor," interrupted Commander Vexthal, who had been monitoring communications intercepts. "I believe I understand what is happening. The humans are not using traditional fleet tactics. They appear to be operating as a single, coordinated organism across their entire space." "Explain." Vexthal activated a smaller display showing intercepted human communications. Their ships communicate instantaneously across any distance, not just faster than light communication, truly instantaneous. When one human ship encounters our forces, every other human ship in the galaxy knows about it immediately. Mordain studied the implications. Traditional space warfare depended on the fact that information could only travel as fast as the ships carrying it. Fleets had to operate independently, making decisions based on limited intelligence. But if the humans could share information instantly across unlimited distances, they are fighting as a collective intelligence, he realized. Every human ship has access to the tactical knowledge of every other human ship. Worse than that, Vexthal continued grimly. Our intelligence suggests they have been doing this for centuries. Every battle they have ever fought, every tactic they have ever developed, every lesson they have ever learned, all of it is instantly available to every human commander. The strategic display updated, showing the latest reports from the front lines. Or what used to be the front lines. There was no front anymore. Human forces were appearing throughout hegemony space, striking at targets that should have been safe, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. "How many ships do they have?" Mordain demanded. Korth manipulated his display, trying to compile accurate numbers from the chaotic reports. "Unknown, High Executor. Our estimates keep changing. Every time we think we have destroyed a significant portion of their fleet, more ships appear. It is as if they have infinite reinforcements." "No. Species has infinite resources," Mordain stated, but his voice lacked conviction. "Perhaps not infinite," Vexthal said carefully, "but close to it. High Executor, I have been studying their ship designs. They are not built like our vessels. Human ships can reconfigure themselves, change their capabilities based on mission requirements. A single human vessel can function as a fighter, a cruiser, or a battleship depending on the tactical situation." Mordain considered this. The hegemony built ships for specific roles: fighters for speed, battleships for heavy combat, carriers for fleet support. Each ship design was optimized for its function, but could not adapt to changing circumstances. "They have also been using our own weapons against us," Vexthal continued. "Every hegemony ship they destroy is immediately analyzed. Within hours, they develop countermeasures and deploy improved versions of our own technology." The realization hit Mordain like a physical blow. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were learning from it, adapting and improving with every engagement. Meanwhile, the hegemony was using the same tactics and technologies they had relied on for millennia. "What of our secret weapons?" he asked desperately. "The reality shapers, the consciousness breakers, the time distortion devices?" Korth's expression grew even more grim. "All neutralized, High Executor. The humans seem to have developed specific countermeasures for each of our advanced weapon systems. In some cases, they have turned our own weapons against us." A new alarm sounded throughout. The command chamber, the strategic display flashed red as new reports arrived. "High Executor," called the communications officer. "Emergency transmission from the Rigel sector. The humans have launched a major offensive against our core systems." Mordain felt his legs weaken. The core systems were supposed to be impregnable, protected by the most powerful fleets in hegemony space, and defended by weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. "That is impossible," he said automatically. "Rigel is 40,000 light years from human space. Even with their advanced travel technology, they could not have reached our core territory so quickly." The display changed to show the Rigel sector. Mordain watched in disbelief as human ships appeared throughout the region, not in ones or twos, but in massive fleets that dwarfed anything the hegemony could field. High Executor, the communications officer continued. Admiral Kresh is requesting immediate reinforcements. He reports that human forces have already destroyed 3 fortress worlds and are advancing on the sector capital. Mordain realized with growing terror that the humans had never intended to fight a defensive war. While the hegemony had been focused on their invasion of human space, humanity had been preparing to strike at the heart of the Empire. Send all available reserves to Rigel, he ordered. High Executor, Korth said quietly. We have no reserves. Every available ship was committed to the human invasion force. Most of those ships are now destroyed or trapped behind enemy lines. The truth settled over the command chamber like a shroud. The hegemony, which had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years, was being systematically destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. There must be something we can do, Mordain said desperately. Some strategy, some weapon, some alliance we can form. Vexthal stepped forward. High Executor, I have one more report. Our remaining intelligence assets have discovered something about human society that explains their military capabilities. What? Their entire civilization is structured around warfare, not just their military but their entire society. Human children begin tactical training before they can walk. Their artists create works that contain hidden strategic information. Their scientists develop technology with military applications. Their farmers grow food that can double as explosive materials. Mordain stared at him. You are saying their entire species is military? More than that. Their entire species has been shaped by conflict. They have survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and global wars that would have destroyed any other species. For them, existential conflict is not unusual. It is their natural state. The command chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The hegemony had not attacked a peaceful species that happened to have advanced technology. They had attacked a species that had evolved specifically to survive and win existential conflicts. High Executor, the communications officer called, urgently. Multiple reports coming in. Human forces have appeared in the Centauri sectors, the Vega territories, and the Outer Rim colonies. They are attacking on all fronts simultaneously. Mordain looked at the strategic display one last time. Red symbols representing human attacks covered half the galaxy. The hegemony's 10,000 star systems were being assaulted by forces that seemed to appear from nowhere and strike with perfect coordination. For the first time in his long life, High Executor Mordain realized that the hegemony might not survive this war, and somewhere in the back of his mind, he remembered the human admiral's words from that first encounter. Earth's response was just a warning. If this was their real response, what would they do if they truly became angry? He was beginning to fear that he might find out. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the UES Retribution as it approached Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Zethkari hegemony. Around the massive planet, the remnants of the once mighty hegemony fleet tried desperately to form a defensive line. It had been 8 months since the war began. 8 months of relentless human advance through hegemony space. Sarah had watched entire alien civilizations surrender rather than face the approaching human fleets. She had seen 1,000-year-old fortress worlds abandoned without a shot being fired. The hegemony had learned what it meant to face humanity's true response. Status report, Sarah commanded. Her tactical officer, Commander Park, consulted his displays. Final defensive fleet consists of approximately 8,000 ships. They have positioned themselves in a sphere around Nexus Prime, using the planet's orbital platforms to support their formation. Sarah studied the enemy deployment. It was actually well conceived. A layered defense that would force the humans to fight through multiple kill zones to reach the planet. Under normal circumstances, attacking such a position would cost thousands of ships and millions of lives. But these were not normal circumstances. Signal from the surface, reported her communications officer. High Executor Mordain is requesting a meeting under truce conditions. Sarah considered this. Throughout the war, the hegemony had made several attempts at negotiation. Each time they had offered tribute, territory, even complete withdrawal from human space. Each time, humanity had given the same response: unconditional surrender or complete destruction. Put him through, she decided. The main display activated, showing the interior of what appeared to be a vast command chamber. High Executor Mordain stood in the center, but he looked nothing like the confident ruler who had ordered the invasion of human space. His posture was broken, his movements those of someone who had aged decades in a matter of months. "Admiral Chen," he said, his voice heavy with defeat, "I come to you not as a conqueror, but as a being who recognizes his people face extinction." "High Executor," Sarah replied calmly, "you should have considered that possibility before you threatened our children." Mordain flinched at her words. Throughout the war, human commanders had made it clear that the hegemony's greatest mistake was not underestimating human technology or military capability. Their greatest mistake was threatening human families. "I acknowledge our error," Mordain continued. "The hegemony was wrong to attack your species. We offer complete surrender, reparations, whatever your people require. Only spare the civilian populations." Sarah walked closer to the display. Behind her, the bridge crew continued their preparations for the final assault. They had performed this routine hundreds of times over the past 8 months, reducing hegemony strongholds one by one. "High Executor, you seem to misunderstand the situation," she said quietly. "This is not a negotiation. This is not a war that will end with treaties and peace accords. You declared genocide against humanity. You plan to enslave our people and destroy our civilization. There can be only one response to such a threat." "But surely," Mordain pleaded, "your people understand mercy. Many species within the hegemony were forced to join us. They never chose to attack humanity." Sarah activated her own display, showing a tactical map of the galaxy. What had once been 10,000 hegemony systems now showed a different picture. Roughly half showed green markers, liberated worlds where local populations had overthrown their hegemony oppressors with human support. But the other half showed red markers, systems where the inhabitants had chosen to fight beside the hegemony, even when offered freedom. "We have offered every species in your empire a choice," Sarah explained. "Those who renounced the hegemony and freed their slaves have been welcomed as friends. Those who chose to continue supporting genocide." She gestured to the red markers. "They chose their fate." Mordain stared at the display in horror. "You have destroyed half the galaxy's civilizations." "We have removed threats to galactic peace," Sarah corrected. "Species that believe genocide is acceptable cannot be allowed to exist. They will always be a danger to others." The alien leader seemed to shrink before her eyes. "What of my own people? The Zethkari did not choose this war. I chose it. I gave the orders." "Your people followed those orders," Sarah replied. "Your military carried out attacks on civilian targets. Your scientists developed weapons specifically designed to cause suffering. Your citizens celebrated reports of human deaths." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "However, we are not without mercy. Any individual who can prove they actively oppose the genocide will be relocated to worlds where they can live peacefully under human protection. The rest—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. Mordain understood. "This is extinction," he whispered. "This is justice," Sarah countered. "You plan to exterminate humanity. Now you will discover what happens when humanity decides to exterminate a threat to galactic peace." The display showed movement as the human fleet began its final approach. Thousands of ships that had been invisible to sensors suddenly materialized around Nexus Prime. The hegemony's defensive formation, which had seemed so impressive moments before, was now completely surrounded. "Admiral," Mordain said desperately, "I have one final request. Allow me to address the galaxy before you finish this." Sarah considered for a moment. "Very well. You have 5 minutes." Mordain activated a galaxy-wide broadcast. His image and voice would reach every inhabited world, every space station, every ship within 1,000 light-years. "To all intelligent species," he began, I am High Executor Mordain of the Zethkari hegemony. In a few minutes, my empire will cease to exist, destroyed by the human species. I am broadcasting this message as a warning to all who might hear it. His voice grew stronger as he continued. We believed the humans were a primitive species that could be easily conquered. We were wrong. They are the most dangerous force this galaxy has ever seen, not because of their weapons, not because of their technology, but because of their nature. Sarah watched as alien commanders throughout the approaching fleet clusters listened to the broadcast. Some of them had been fighting humans for months and had developed a healthy respect for human capabilities. Others were about to learn. The humans do not fight wars, Mordain continued. They fight extinctions. When they decide that a species is a threat, they do not seek to defeat it. They seek to remove it from existence entirely. They are thorough, they are patient, and they never forgive threats to their young. The High Executor looked directly into the camera. We threatened their children. We planned to enslave their families. We declared our intention to destroy their civilization. For this, there can be no mercy, no negotiation, no hope of survival. He paused, his voice breaking slightly. Learn from our mistake. The humans will leave you alone if you leave them alone. But if you threaten them, if you attack their people, if you so much as consider harming their children, they will not stop until every trace of your species has been removed from the galaxy. The broadcast ended. Mordain looked at Sarah one last time. Will it be quick? For most, she replied honestly. Your military installations will be destroyed immediately. Your civilian populations, she considered her words carefully. We are not monsters, High Executor. We do not cause unnecessary suffering, but we cannot allow your species to continue existing. Mordain nodded slowly. I understand. We chose genocide, and now genocide has chosen us. The connection ended. Sarah turned to her fleet command. All units commence final assault, execute Extinction Protocol 7. Throughout human space, the largest military operation in galactic history began its culmination. It was not a battle. The hegemony had no hope of victory. It was a systematic dismantling of an empire and everything it represented. But Sarah knew this was not really the end. It was a message, broadcast throughout the galaxy for any species that might be watching. The message was simple. Humanity was willing to share the galaxy with anyone who lived in peace. But those who chose genocide would face extinction. As the last hegemony ships disappeared into expanding clouds of plasma, Sarah activated the fleet-wide communication system. All units, this is Admiral Chen. The hegemony has been eliminated as a threat to galactic peace. Phase 1 of galactic pacification is complete. She paused, looking out at the stars where countless species were undoubtedly watching and learning. Begin. Phase 2. We have a galaxy to protect. Throughout human space, construction ships began moving toward the former hegemony territories. They carried something that would have surprised the galaxy's observers. Not weapons or occupation forces, but schools, hospitals, and infrastructure to help the liberated worlds rebuild. Humanity had kept its promise. They had removed the threat. Now they would keep their other promise, to protect those who could not protect themselves. The force that had kept coming, that had never stopped despite overwhelming odds, was now the galaxy's guardian, and every species in the known galaxy would remember what happened to those who threatened human children. Sarah smiled as she watched construction ships begin their work. Perhaps now the galaxy could know peace, but if it couldn't, humanity would be ready.